transported leader of Cuba, Fulgencio Batista, is ousted by a rebel army led by Fidel Castro. Castro visits Washington, D.C. to assure the United States that he is not a communist. But America's worries are only allayed for a short time. Castro soon betrays the cause of his rebel army and installs himself as dictator at the head of a ruthless socialist state. It's at this point that Castro's former soldiers, now in exile, turn to the American CIA for assistance. An invasion plan is drawn up during the Eisenhower administration, but it's not until Kennedy is in office that the final approval is given. Kennedy okays the invasion, but fearing Soviet reprisals in Berlin, he adds the condition that no American troops be deployed. He will arm the rebels and provide air support, but after that, they're on their own. Relying on old surveillance photos and ignoring the Cuban rebels' protests, the site the CIA picks for the landing is the Bay of Pigs. The CIA leases 6 ships and sends the 1,400 ill-equipped rebels to meet the far superior Cuban army, minus the promised air support. It's a bungled effort that Castro quickly puts down. Already aware of the secret invasion plan, the media publicizes the utter failure of the U.S.-backed coup, dealing Kennedy's golden image a serious blow. The Soviet Union seizes on the American aggression at the Bay of Pigs as a pretext to arm Cuba with Soviet weapons. The United States can do little to contest this until U-2 spy planes show evidence of a medium-range Soviet missile base under construction in Cuba. Now, American embarrassment turns to outrage.
Mr. President, I am submitting today a resolution to the Security Council designed to find a way out of this calamitous situation. This resolution calls, as an interim measure under Article 40 of the Charter, for the immediate dismantling and withdrawal from Cuba of all missile and other offensive weapons.
The embattled Kennedy is in a difficult corner. He must force the removal of the missile bases while delicately averting a war with the Soviet Union.
To halt this offensive buildup, a strict quarantine on all offensive military equipment under shipment to Cuba is being initiated. All ships of any kind bound for Cuba, from whatever nation or port, will, if found to contain cargoes of offensive weapons, be turned back.
Since there are no missiles on the launch pads yet, Kennedy hopes that this blockade will keep the Soviets from delivering them. Although he calls it a quarantine, he knows that the Soviets may consider it an act of war. In an address to his nation, Kennedy outlines the threat of a nuclear base in Cuba and the looming threat of a nuclear war.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union.
As Soviet merchant ships approach the quarantine line, American submarines take up positions along the Soviet coast, preparing for an attack. The Cuban army prepares for an invasion. And Kennedy puts the Air Force at DEFCON 2, one step away from a state of war. With the missile-laden Russian merchant ships drawing fearfully close, the world holds its breath. Finally, Moscow announces that they will dismantle the missile base, and both sides breathe a sigh of relief. The Russian ships turn back, and after 13 tense days, the Cuban Missile Crisis is over.